It's a standard fee. Everyone pays it. The salesman didn't flinch when he said it. He didn't lower his voice. He didn't check to see who was listening. He should have. Because the man pretending to browse sedans 2 aisles over, he was the one who wrote the original sales handbook for this dealership chain, the one who built it from the ground up, the one who specifically removed that fee from all future transactions a year ago. He was the CEO. And today wasn't just a random drop-in. It was a test. What would you do if your own staff lied to a customer? With your name on the paperwork. Call them out immediately, stay quiet and keep watching. Fire them on the spot. Tear the whole system down from the inside, comment your number, and keep watching. Because what this CEO finds buried in the contract isn't just about a sale. It's about everything his company forgot. Marcus Dell hadn't set foot in one of his own dealerships in 6 months. Not since his company, Dell Line Auto Group, expanded to 15 locations. Growth had come fast, too fast, and with it came distance. He spent most of his time in a downtown office tower, reviewing reports, approving expansions, shaking hands with banks and brand partners. But the floor, the grit, the handshake and a smile world where it all began, he missed it. More importantly, he didn't trust it anymore. The complaints had started small. A frustrated voicemail from a long-time customer, a letter about shady add-ons, a Google review that said, "Felt like a scam, not a sale." That last one haunted him. So today, he went in without an assistant, no press, no notice, just Marcus, in jeans, a ball cap, and a hoodie. He let a rental drop him off a block away, walked in like a browser, and waited. At first, the energy felt good. Clean showroom, smiling receptionist, sales team looked sharp. But then he saw the interaction. A young woman, maybe late 20s, sitting at a sales desk. Nervous, holding a printed quote sheet like it was a foreign language. The salesman across from her leaning back with too much confidence. "The protection package is $1,295, mandatory," the salesman said. The woman frowned. "But I didn't ask for that. I thought the price was lower." He tapped the paper. "It's just how it is. Everybody gets it." Marcus's eyes narrowed. He stepped slightly closer, pretending to admire the trim of a nearby SUV. But his ears caught everything. That package was optional, had been marked optional in their system for over a year. Marcus made sure of it himself. It was one of the policies he put in place after his own mother was pressured into an upsell she didn't need. And now it was being slipped in again, not as an option, as a lie. Marcus watched the woman hesitate, then lower her pen. "Maybe I need to think about it," she said softly. The salesman sighed dramatically. "It's the last one in this color. If you want to come back tomorrow, I can't promise it'll still be here." Classic pressure line. Marcus had heard enough. He walked toward the main desk. "Excuse me," he said to the receptionist, keeping his voice low. "Is your finance manager in today?" Yes," she said, startled. "Would you like me to call someone over?" Marcus nodded. "Yes. Tell them Marcus Dell has a question about one of their contracts." The words landed like thunder. Heads turned. The salesman stiffened. The woman at the desk blinked, confused. And Marcus, he reached for the quote sheet the woman had been handed, and froze. Right there, in bold print, was a line item he'd banned. His company wasn't just lying. It was lying in his name. The quote sheet didn't just bother Marcus. It rattled him. He had created this company with one rule above all: never lie on paper. If a deal couldn't be honest, it shouldn't close. But right there in his hand, bolded under additional protections, was a $1,295 line item he'd personally removed from the system last year. He looked up slowly. The showroom had gone still. The salesman, Connor, according to his badge, looked frozen, halfway between denial and panic. Marcus's voice was low, deliberate. "This fee is listed as mandatory." "Do you know who I am?" Connor stammered. You're Mr. Dell, right? I didn't realize." "That's not the problem. The problem is this fee. It was banned. I made that change myself after hearing a story just like this. And you? You pitched it like gospel. The woman in the chair, Rachel, looked between them, confused. Wait, this isn't required. Marcus turned to her, softer now. No, it never was. You were being pushed into something under false terms. Rachel blinked, stunned. I almost signed for something I didn't even ask for. You're not the first, Marcus said. But I promise, you'll be the last on my watch. He handed her the paper and gently stepped back. Then he looked toward the receptionist. Please bring out your general manager. Now. Her face went pale. She disappeared into the hallway. A minute later, the doors opened. In walked the manager. Tall, pressed navy suit, forced smile, fake confidence wrapped in cologne. Mr. Dell, what a surprise. If we'd known, Marcus held up the quote. This document has a line item I banned last February. It was pitched as mandatory. This customer was about to sign something under false terms. The manager hesitated. That's obviously not ideal, but I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. It wasn't. It's the second time I've seen this, and I haven't been here more than 15 minutes. Silence. Then Marcus added, colder this time. How many more contracts are sitting in drawers right now, carrying fees we promised to eliminate? The manager swallowed. I can check. Marcus stepped forward. Don't bother. I already did. 3 locations, 8 files. Same markup. Same lie. Now the manager went quiet. You didn't lose track of your process. You lost your integrity. And for the first time since walking through those doors, Marcus felt something return. Not anger, but purpose. The silence in the dealership's conference room was the kind that weighed on the chest. Not dramatic, not loud, just thick. Every staff member could feel it pressing against their shoulders as Marcus Dell stood at the head of the table, Rachel's, contract held loosely in one hand. He looked at it, then at them. This piece of paper was almost signed by someone who trusted us. He didn't need to raise his voice. His disappointment filled every corner of the room. That woman trusted you. She trusted the badge, the table, the process. She didn't know who built it. She just knew she was being asked to believe in it. Connor shifted in his seat. Sweat was visibly collecting at his temple. He tried to speak, but Marcus raised a finger. You told her it was mandatory. You said it with confidence, like you'd said it 100 times before. Connor opened his mouth again. Marcus didn't look at him. This isn't just about you. This is about how a policy I personally killed has reappeared in 8 different contracts across 3 dealerships in under 3 months. You didn't create that, but you enforced it. He let the words settle. And the worst part, you didn't even flinch when you lied. Marcus turned toward the general manager. When was the last time you reviewed a full sales cycle from your team? We run audits every quarter, the manager replied cautiously. No, not reports, not spreadsheets. A full cycle, sitting in, watching, hearing the tone, the language, the manipulation. The manager was silent. I didn't think so. Marcus looked around the room again. Sales reps, finance, admin. No one made eye contact. Somewhere between growth and greed, we lost our spine. He laid the contract flat on the table. That's over. Starting now. Then he looked directly at Connor. You're done. Pack your things. You won't work under this roof again. Connor looked like he wanted to speak, to protest or apologize, but nothing came out. He stood, nodded stiffly, and walked out. As the door clicked shut, Marcus sighed. If anyone else in this room feels they can't meet this new standard, you're free to leave too. No judgment, no backlash. No one moved. Then a voice spoke up. A woman from finance, middle-aged, quiet until now. Mr. Dell, she said gently. I've felt off about how things were running for a while. I didn't have the power to change it, but I'm glad you saw it too. Marcus nodded slowly. Thank you. That's exactly who I need here. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notepad. We're going back to the beginning. Every team will now sit through a full retraining, not on sales tactics, on ethics, communication, trust building. You'll relearn how to speak to customers. Like human beings, not credit cards. The GM shifted. That might be hard to get buy-in for. Marcus smiled faintly. Then we make it non-negotiable. An hour later, Marcus returned to the showroom floor. Rachel was still there, standing by the entrance, unsure if she should leave. He approached her slowly. "Ms. James, right?" She nodded. "Here," he said, handing her a freshly printed quote. "No surprise fees, no pressure, just the truth." She scanned the paper. It was over $200 cheaper. Her eyes widened. "Why? Why the change?" "Because this company forgot itself," he said simply. "But today it remembered." She smiled. "So, it really does matter to someone." "It matters to me. And starting now, it's going to matter to everyone else here too." She took a deep breath. "Then, I'd like to go through with it." Marcus nodded. "Let's do it the right way." As they walked toward the desk together, the remaining staff on the floor stood a little straighter, whispered less, watched more. Marcus knew it would take more than one speech to fix what had broken, but the rebuild had begun. Marcus Dell didn't return to his office that day. Instead, he set up at the glass-walled conference room in the back of the dealership, the one used for performance reviews and finance briefings. By 10:45 a.m., the blinds were drawn, the lights dimmed, and a stack of printed contracts sat on the table beside him. He had asked for everything: 3 months of sales, all finance sheets, and customer review logs. No screens, no spreadsheets, just paper. And silence. The room filled one by one. Connor, the salesman who got caught, the floor manager, the finance officer, the receptionist, the general manager, Brian, even Trevor, the quiet tech assistant who had nervously tipped off the inconsistency with the quote. Marcus looked at them not with anger, but with precision, measured, surgical. "Before we begin," he said, "I want to make something clear. This isn't a witch hunt. It's an autopsy. Something here died, and I'm here to find out what." Silence. Not one person looked up. He picked up a contract. Ms. Nina Garvey, 49, first-time buyer, came in for a base model, left with a payment plan that included a $595 paperwork bundling fee. "What does that mean?" Connor started to speak. "It's part of the—" "Stop," Marcus put the contract down. "It's not in any official structure. I've reviewed every one of our financing tiers. That line was made up." Another file. Samuel Thomas, widow, wanted a used hybrid, was told the drive-safe tracker was required for insurance approval. Not true. $100 added. Who explained that to him? Brian, the general manager, shifted uncomfortably. Sometimes the team uses simplified language to help. "Lie?" Marcus asked, eyes locked. "Is that the word you're avoiding?" Silence again. Marcus dropped the second file. "You're not making mistakes. You're working a system that became too easy to abuse, and I want to know when that started." No answer. So he turned to Trevor, the youngest in the room, the one who'd said the least. "Trevor, why'd you flag that quote yesterday?" Trevor looked down. "Because it wasn't the first time. I've seen it before." "Why didn't you say anything sooner?" Trevor hesitated. "Because people get cold when you ask questions." Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. Not surprise. Confirmation. He scanned the room. "So, this is the culture now. Speak up and get iced out. Ask about fairness and get benched." The finance officer, a woman in her mid-30s with tired eyes, finally spoke. "You stop coming in. No more visits. No more review boards. We didn't know what mattered anymore. We just kept the numbers moving." "At what cost?" Marcus said quietly. No one answered. They didn't need to. For the next 3 Hours, Marcus went document by document, not yelling, not blaming, just peeling back a culture that had gone numb from neglect. He learned. The incentive system now quietly rewarded upsell bonuses, not satisfaction ratings. Customer reviews were only checked when they dropped below 3.5 stars. Managers were trained to say flexible terms, but never to show the actual breakdown unless asked twice. But what broke him was this: a handwritten note buried in one finance folder. From a woman named Mrs. Callahan, 72, retired nurse. "Thank you for helping me afford the car. I hope my son doesn't mind the tracker fee. He said I didn't need it, but the man at the desk said it was required. I just wanted to be safe." Marcus stared at it for a long time. Then he stood up. "You don't need to worry about your bonuses," he said. Connor looked up. "They're safe?" he asked hopefully. "No," Marcus said. "They're gone. Effective immediately. Bonus structures tied to upsells are terminated. From now on, you earn more only when our customers are happy, not confused." Brian shifted in his seat. "That'll kill morale." "No," Marcus replied. "Lying kills morale. I'm removing the poison." Then he did something no one expected. He turned to Trevor. "You're the only one who said something. From now on, you're not in the back anymore. You're head of compliance training. You'll be paid to notice, to ask questions, and to teach others to do the same." Trevor blinked. I'm not qualified." "You just were," Marcus said, in front of everyone. By 3 hours p.m., word had spread across the dealership. The CEO wasn't just in the building, he was changing it. He held a second meeting, this time with the entire sales staff. No clipboards, no pitches, just one whiteboard that said, "Sell with clarity or sell nothing." He told them about Mrs. Callahan, about the fine print, about the gap between perception and trust. Then he said, "We don't sell cars, we sell decisions. Every signature matters. Every minute someone sits at our desk wondering if they're being misled is a failure of our brand." He looked around. "You want to stay? Good. Learn this new system. You want to leave? No hard feelings. But this is the last day Vero Auto operates with smoke in the showroom." The morning after the audit felt quieter. Not because the dealership had shut down, but because it was breathing differently. Gone was the aggressive pitch music in the showroom. Gone were the pop-up banners with flash terms like "no credit," "no problem," and "today only add-ons" in their place. A sign mounted above the welcome desk. "We don't sell pressure, we sell permission." Marcus arrived early again, not in a suit, not with an entourage, just him and a plain blue coffee thermos, walking the floor like he used to, back when he sold his first car off a rented lot in a suit 3 sizes too big. Back when he remembered every customer by name. He nodded to Trevor, now seated at what used to be the bonus reporting desk. It had been converted into the customer advocacy station. Trevor didn't track upsells anymore. He reviewed open feedback forms and coached staff in 10-minute micro-sessions between client appointments. "I've had 3 staff ask how to admit they messed up without looking weak," Trevor said. Marcus smiled. "Tell them this. Integrity doesn't need polish, it just needs eye contact." Trevor wrote that down on a sticky note. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus implemented sweeping change, quietly, without fanfare. Contracts were redesigned, removing ambiguous language. A client care hotline was established, staffed not with salespeople, but with ex-customers who'd once filed complaints and later became advocates. He hired a new onboarding consultant, a retired ethics professor who rewrote their training manual from scratch. The first line: "If you wouldn't explain it to your grandmother, don't say it to a stranger." But the biggest shift came from something small: the red pen rule. Every customer was now handed a red pen with their contract. If anything feels unclear, circle it. If it still feels unclear after we explain it, we remove it. Simple, direct, and real. The very next day, an older man buying a used pickup circled a $75 key fee. The sales rep hesitated, then removed it, smiled. Good catch. The man's eyes widened. You actually did it. We don't argue with red pens anymore, the rep said. By week 3, things started to change. Foot traffic increased, not because of ads, but because of word of mouth. Rachel came back, not to buy a car, but to drop off cookies for the receptionist who apologized to her in person. A competitor called and asked why 3 of their clients switched dealerships mid-purchase. But the most meaningful moment came, quietly, on a Tuesday afternoon, when Mrs. Callahan returned. She didn't storm in. She didn't demand refunds. She walked up to the front desk, holding a letter. Marcus came out to meet her. I wasn't sure if I should bring this, she said. He offered a seat. If it's in your hands, it's meant to be here. She unfolded the note. It was the same one she'd written the day she bought her car. The thank you letter. But this time, she had added something. You made it right, and not many people do that anymore. I never expected you to find my letter, but I'm glad you did. Marcus looked up. I failed you once, he said. She smiled, but not twice. They sat in silence for a moment. 2 people who'd lived long enough to know that fixing something broken always means admitting it was broken in the first place. By the end of the quarter, Vero Auto wasn't topping national sales charts, but they were getting something rarer. Calls from people who said they'd never felt safer buying a car. One woman wrote, "Your team treated me like I wasn't being sold to. They treated me like I was making a choice." Another, "When I circled 3 things in red, your staff explained all of them. One of them, they said I didn't need, so they removed it. I cried in the lot before I drove away." Marcus printed those reviews and taped them in the break room, right next to the old bonus board, and above it, in bold marker, "This is your commission now." 1 month later, a reporter came by for a feature. She asked Marcus what had changed. He said, "Nothing changed. We just stopped pretending shortcuts were strategy." Then she asked if he had regrets. He thought about that for a moment. I regret stepping away and assuming honesty would hold without attention. Culture's like a car. It doesn't stay in park just because you turned off the engine. It rolls if the road's tilted, and we were headed downhill. Then she asked about Trevor. He's our future, not because he's loud, but because he noticed. And that's what I stopped doing until this all snapped. She asked about the red pen rule. That one's simple, Marcus said. If you're afraid of red ink, you shouldn't be running a business. A few final ripples followed. Other dealerships adopted red pens. A national dealer forum posted Vero Auto's new contract as a gold standard in transparency. And the man who once wrote the original paperwork bundling fee, he sent in a formal apology, not because he was caught, but because he saw what happened when someone took responsibility and meant it. On his final day walking that floor before stepping back again, Marcus paused at the customer waiting area. A teenager sat with her father, signing her first car loan. The girl picked up the red pen. "Dad, can I circle something if I don't get it?" Her father smiled. "Absolutely." And Marcus, he smiled too. Not because of pride, but because something rare had happened in that room. Trust had returned. 4 months later, Marcus Dell walked into the dealership for the first time without a folder in his hand. No clipboard, no checklist, no one following behind him with numbers and nonsense. Just him, in a simple jacket, holding a single set of keys. He passed the service desk, nodded to the new receptionist, a former customer named Zia, now the heart of the floor. Trevor looked up from the compliance station, smiling, a headset on, and red pen behind his ear like a mechanic would keep, a wrench. "Morning, Mr. D. Morning, Compliance King." They laughed. It felt easy now, not because things were perfect, but because they were finally honest. The new values room sat where the old finance back office used to be. No glass, no marble, just warm lighting, 3 chairs, and one wall painted floor to ceiling. with handwritten quotes from customers and staff. Some were funny. I thought the free coffee would taste corporate. It doesn't. Thank you. Some were sharp. You didn't fix the sale. You fixed my faith. And one, right in the middle, from Rachel. I came in to buy a car. I left knowing I wasn't being handled. I was being heard. That quote was framed because it wasn't just a review. It was a line in the sand. Marcus took a seat in the room alone, as he did once every Friday, at 10 a.m., no meetings. He called it his silent check-in. Not with the team, not with operations, with the space, with himself. Just sit, watch, remember. How it almost broke. That day, something unusual happened. A couple walked in, mid-30s, polished, professional. They spoke to the front desk, were guided into the values room, and took seats near Marcus. They didn't recognize him. He was just a man in the corner chair with a coffee. They spoke in low tones. She wants the add-on, the man said. But I told her not to get played. They always pitch upgrades. I know, the woman whispered, but the safety assist would help with the kids, and this place is supposed to be different now, right? He leaned in. We'll test that. Marcus, watch them, not to judge, just to see. A staff member walked in, young, calm, carried 2 copies of the quote, sat down like she was meeting people, not targets. Hi, just to confirm, this sheet shows everything. We don't sell under pressure. You'll see some recommended extras, but they're not required. And if any part feels off, red pens, right here. She laid the pen on the table and sat back. The woman blinked. You're not going to push us? No, ma'am. You're already here. That means you're smart. We just help with the decision. Marcus exhaled slowly. That sentence, that was his legacy. Later that day, he walked to the lot. There it was, the car, an old '97 Civic. Not for sale, sat near the employee bike rack. It used to be his first car, the one he sold when Vero Auto opened. He'd tracked it down, bought it back, had the team restore it. But now, it wasn't polished. It sat a little crooked, the left taillight dim. Inside, a handwritten sign hung from the rear view. We started with one car. And no lies. It wasn't on display. It wasn't advertised. It just was. A symbol. For staff, it was a reminder. For customers, a mystery. For Marcus, a promise. On his way out, he stopped by the team lounge. A chalkboard listed the best customer moments of the week. Helped a grandma FaceTime her grandson during delivery. Cancelled a fee before she even noticed it. Felt amazing. Customer cried when we told her she didn't owe us more, just owed herself a good decision. The dealership. Hadn't gone viral, but it had gone honest. That weekend, Marcus finally took a break. First one in a long time. He left town, rented a cabin, no laptop, just a notebook, a pen, and one final note he'd been meaning to write. He titled the page, "To the next CEO who thinks culture runs on autopilot." And he wrote, "You don't build trust with a brand campaign. You build it by making sure your worst employee has less power than your best intention. You build it by sitting in the room before the deal closes, not just at the end of month celebration. You build it with silence, with red pens, with mistakes you don't bury, and with people like Trevor." He closed the book, walked outside, and let the quiet surround him. Because for the first time in years, Marcus Dell knew. The dealership, no longer needed him to be loud. It just needed him to have once listened. If you believe trust should never be optional, share this story. Hit like if you've ever made the hard choice to do the right thing. And drop a comment. What would you circle in red? Subscribe for more true stories where leadership means listening, not just leading.